Welcome, welcome, welcome. How's it going? It is June 18th, 2025. This is the RambleCast. I'm your host, Cody Toombs, and with me I have Corbin Davenport.
Hello.
So, there is just no better way to say it. The world is spinning in the wrong direction. It's wobbling. Everything has gone completely haywire. But we're here.
Yes, everything hurts and I'm tired. But it's fine. We're gonna talk about stupid stuff, and I also spent too much money on a new computer, so we're going.
Well, hey, if the world ends in the next couple of weeks, dude, that was a good purchase. Great time.
Yep. I gotta download some more Steam games beforehand if that does happen. But other than that, yep.
So, let's see. Oh, okay. So that thing's gonna act up great. Yeah, it's been a wild week. I don't really have a great segue into this, so I'm just going to steal the notion that you just bought stuff and turn it into announcement for shopping. Hey, if you need to buy junk, good news, Amazon wants to help you.
Yes. If you've been watching the last few months and been like, you know what, I think Jeff Bezos could use more of my money. I think the billionaires could really use a leg up. They're not doing great right now. Well, you're in luck because Amazon has now confirmed its timeline for Prime Day, which is now 4 days. We're getting continually further away from a day. This is now the work week of the average European nation. So it is from July 8th to July 11th. And, they're promising it's all the usual stuff that's going to be on sale. It's all your clothes, your toys, your electronics you probably don't need. All the usual suspects that go on sale during the Prime Day that already happened. I forgot what that was called. I think it was like spring something. That already happened. Same as Black Friday, which of course is now an entire month. Probably some of the similar stuff that was on sale for like Memorial Day. And has Memorial Day happened? Yeah, I get that mixed up with one of the other ones.
You always get it mixed up with Labor Day, I assume.
Yeah,
because those are the two that always get twisted. Memorial Day, yes, did already happen. That's in May. I believe it's May. And then Labor Day happens somewhere end of summer or start of fall. I forget. I've always had at least a decent recollection of Memorial Day because well, it's not the greatest sounding reason, but back when I was in college, or had just graduated college actually, some friends got a houseboat for Memorial Weekend and we hung out. It was a good time. And yeah, so I've always been able to remember Memorial Day just because of that. It's the one that comes first in the year, and then Labor Day is the one that comes.
That's not where I thought you were going with that. I thought I was about to get like a solemn story about a family member who died in World War II or something.
Nope.
Okay, that sounds better.
Also, how old do you think I am?
I said family member. That could be a great grandfather. I don't know.
Yes, but why should that be some solemn story for me?
It could be. Well, I don't know. Maybe you were close. I'm just spit.
That's the point.
That seemed like
I should not have been alive.
Seemed like a more natural direction for that chain of thought to go than Boat.
I should not have been alive to know someone who died in World War II.
Okay, I could have said Gulf War. I'm sorry.
My mom wasn't
So
even alive for World War II.
okay. Well, there's about to be another one, so there's still time.
Actually, was my grandmother even alive for World War II? I don't know. I'd have to do the math.
We'll get to the
Oh, no,
get to the
yeah, she
bottom of
was.
this.
Anyway,
Labor Day is September 1st this year. But the next year it will be September 7th and then September 6th.
okay, September. So start of school year.
It's one of those that changes around. It's annoying like that. So anyway, yeah, Prime Day is coming up. My advice for this, as always, is if you need something, put it in your Amazon cart before the sale starts, and then if something in there goes on sale, great. If not, there you go. You did Prime Day.
Yep.
Don't give into the peer pressure. Be like, wow, those headphones are 30% off. I'm gonna miss my chance. No, don't do it. Don't give in. Especially, for a fact there's gonna be some. Now, granted, I don't know what the situation will be like a month from now, but the past few months there have been a lot of blogs and content creators, and occasionally I've even seen in some commercials that want to push the thing of like, get this on sale before tariffs take effect. Don't do that. Don't give into that. No one knows what is going on. Not even the president who is doing the tariffs understands when the tariffs will start and when they will end. So that doesn't need to be a factor for you.
Here's the deal. The tariffs are likely to start at the exact same time as TikTok will be banned.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we forgot to put to put that in, but the TikTok ban got delayed again, so that's all there is to say about that.
Yeah, there really is literally nothing else to say, so it won't be a topic. But
I saw that in my feed, and I was like, should I write an article? But it's like, I don't care, it doesn't matter.
Well, you could have assigned that to somebody else. It's an easy.
You know what I could have done is just copy paste my from last time. No one would have noticed.
Kind of like how I basically copy pasted the micro SD or the memory card sales on Amazon Prime Day.
Yeah, I've done that for deals so many times.
Yeah.
The AirPods are on sale again for the 15th time. I'm grabbing the text from my 4th article.
Yep.
And putting it in there. It's fine. I changed some of the words around. I moved one of the paragraphs. It's fine. It's a new article.
But well, yeah, and I updated links and looked for like the best memory card recommendations, and then I was done. But yeah, for anyone who has never written for modern blog sites, yeah, this is very much a thing. It is a shady, obnoxious thing that just happens a lot. Anyway, so if you do decide to go the consumer browsing strategy that, let's be honest, I think a lot of people still do at least a little bit on Prime Day, even if you were trying to be as anti-consumer as possible. That's not the correct way to use that phrase, but we're gonna go with it. If you're trying not to be a materialistic pig, but you still kind of give in and at least look at some of the things that might be recommended or might show up in news, at least use Keepa. Check Keepa, make sure it's a browser extension and technically a website. Just check, make sure that the thing that you think is on sale is actually a sale and not just the company raising the price 2 weeks before they then lower it for Prime Day.
Yeah, especially because other sites will also lie about that.
Yes.
Like just today, I saw a tech blog that shall remain unnamed write a sale about AirPods 4 going on sale. And I looked at Keepa, and it has been that exact price on Amazon for 2 weeks. So like you cannot trust anyone in this ecosystem. Like everyone will lie to you to get Amazon will lie to you to get that sale. The blogs will lie to you to get that, 2% sales commission or whatever. So you have to check yourself
Before you wreck yourself. God
before you wreck yourself.
That was beautifully in unison too.
Yeah.
Um.
So yeah, that's next capitalism day coming up.
Yes. So, with all that said, I should probably set up a website and link to a bunch of stuff, and that way, if anyone wants to go buy, at least maybe I'll get some credit for it. A new way to support the channel. So speaking of buying garbage, we should probably talk about. I'm glad that that's a transition here because I almost switched the topic that comes after this. But anyway, we should probably talk about the new phone service that you can now get. Oh boy. There is a certain political figure who has launched his own cellular service. Actually, technically, he didn't, but his foundation did. But here it is. The President of the United States is now shilling an MVNO service. It is called Trump Mobile. The service is a direct reference to his position as the 45th and 47th President of the United States. Thus, the pricing is $47.45 a month. You can, of course, like any regular MVNO, you can bring your own phone. It all basically works the exact same way. It hypes that it has the coverage of the 3 nationwide phone services, although we know that it's actually just T-Mobile. Let's see. And in fact, there are kind of a lot of subtle, like, they make one claim, but it turns out it's actually something else situations here. Anyway, so yes, there is a service. They offer all the typical T-Mobile perks like international coverage. It's going to have the same coverage areas. There's really nothing too unusual here. It's exactly like any other MVNO that's reselling T-Mobile. So
except your phone status bar gets to say Trump, presumably.
Oh yeah, it would, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
that's cringy. Let's see. So, and hello Diablo, hello Alyssa. How are you two? So,
someone said Corbin going with the hat too. Yes, Corbin still has remnants of a wicked sunburn. So that's helping cover most of that
up. Hey, that's kind of a plus if you can cover the majority of a sunburn with a hat.
Also, yeah, I mean, it's still everywhere else. Don't look at my arm. I have a perfect outline of my watch band on my arm right now.
Oof, you wore a watch in the sun.
Yeah.
Amateur mistake.
Amateur mistake was not putting on sunscreen when I should have.
No, even,
that's okay. I'm only in my technically late 20s. I wouldn't be expected to know
that. Well, no, I would say, okay, I guess it depends. If you went completely unprepared to put on sunscreen at all, then yeah, that's an amateur mistake. If you just miscalculated how little time it takes to get a sunburn, yeah, no, that is not amateur mistake. That's even the pros will make that mistake.
Yeah, I didn't put on any sunscreen because the forecast was like cloudy, and I was like, it probably doesn't matter. Well, it does. Yes, they said going to the beach Friday. Yes, I didn't, I don't think I posted about it, but I went to the North Carolina Outer Banks last weekend. So I saw like I, I I don't know if I put pictures anywhere, but I uploaded pictures of like I went to the Wright Brothers Memorial, that was kind of cool, and then a beach, and then oh yeah, I went on top of a lighthouse. That was kind of cool, and they were like, it's really windy up there, and I got up there and it was really windy, but I had my phone with the little, you know, hand grip thing, so it's fine. Phone didn't blow away. That's nice. Or me. I did not blow off the top of a lighthouse, thankfully.
Phone didn't go blow away. True.
That's true. That's true.
Things were never said. Um. So, yeah. Hey, that's.
I'll put my pictures in the YouTube chat once I find them.
Okay. You could always post them to the photography channel on my Discord.
That's true. I'll put them. I'll put it in both places. I'll dual drift this.
Ooh, fancy. Okay, so let's see. Now, all right. So we talked about the service, but we have to talk about the phone. Because oh boy, this look, the service is just kind of whatever. It's fine. It's an MVNO. They're just reselling. It's a cheap, lazy business to just resell phone service under your name. Like plenty of companies do it now. But the phone, it is called the T1. And oh man, this thing is interesting. So it is $499. As far as I know, I don't think that they offer payment plans on this. I could be wrong.
Well, it says down payment of $100 here.
Yes, to
so
pre-order it, you have to pay $100, just as a pre-order, and then once they're ready to ship it, they bill you for the remaining $399. And probably shipping or something stupid like that. But anyway, so this phone, look, price alone, you're already expecting mid-range phone. $499 is definitely not going to get you anything into the flagship territory. But generally speaking, mid-range phones can be pretty good. I believe Corbin has given that speech several times. So, having said that, let's talk about what this phone is. It includes 12 gigs of RAM. Sorry. Let's see. Did they? Yeah, they're kind of repeating specs here. But okay, so 12 gigs of RAM, 256 gigs of internal storage, and it has a memory card slot, which pretty uncommon these days. The screen is 6.8 inches, and it has a punch hole for the camera. So that puts the screen right about the size of the Pixel 9 Pro. Let's see, it has a in-screen fingerprint sensor and face unlock. The main camera is 50 megapixels. The two other rear cameras are both 2 megapixels, so one of them is a depth sensor, so it doesn't really count as a rear camera. But the macro camera is 2 megapixels, so basically unusable. And then it has a selfie camera that's 16 megapixel. Now I'm going over these for a reason, but we'll come back to that. Battery is a fairly chunky 5,000 milliamp hour battery, and it can do 20 watt fast charging over power delivery, so that's actually not bad. It's the typical USB-C port, but USB 2.0, so not exactly fast transfer speed, but who cares? And it has a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. And very notably, it comes with Android 15. Good for them. Okay, a few things about this phone. First, in case you're curious about what kind of performance it's going to get, in case, I don't know, maybe you want to play games on it or something like that, there's no mention of a processor.
The most racist games.
Yes. There is no mention of a processor at all. The phone doesn't come with one. I'm kidding. But yeah, it's
we call that the Samsung maneuver. What's the chipset? Octa-core.
Yes.
That's it. That's all you get.
Yeah, there's just no mention at all. Is this made by Qualcomm? Is it made by MediaTek? Is it made by your brother's cousin in his garage? Like, no clue.
I hope it has the best silicon that God's America can build, the TI OMAP 3.
It could. That's actually not an impossibility. Oh, sorry.
Somehow there's still a warehouse of those somewhere.
I'd be shocked.
We'll never get rid of them.
Warehouses of those.
It's like the fucking ET Atari game. There's just someone discovered a landfill with fully intact TI OMAP chips. Like, well, we should use these in something.
I'm picturing the warehouse from Indiana Jones. Like it's just this giant warehouse filled with stuff that was forgotten to time, and yet somehow there's some random person who keeps going in there and harvesting OMAP processors just to stick into new electronics. I mean,
Eric Trump went in there like off his latest cocaine bender and was like, "Oh shit, we can use this."
Exactly.
But yeah, we're talking about the specs here as if this will be a like real phone at some point, which I'm not entirely convinced is even guaranteed. Especially because like the only image we have of it is like extremely photoshopped.
Yes, which I was just about to bring up. The camera module, it is undeniably, clearly just put together in either Photoshop or very likely something cheaper. I'm guessing Paint.net. Because, you know, Trump. So yeah, the images they show are very simply not real. This is it's not even not a product render. It's unclear that the phone will even resemble this. I believe they even say something like that somewhere in the disclosures.
I mean, someone found like whatever phone this is probably supposed to be.
I actually am going to address that shortly.
Okay, CNN has an article about it. That's nice.
Well, okay, so the presumption right now that a lot of people are going with, and let's see, Apple Insider mentions this. The theory that is being kicked around is that it is the T-Mobile Revel 7 Pro 5G. For those that don't know, in fact, let's just pull up a quick
or just the same ODM as them.
Right.
T-Mobile is not the one with the phone factory.
Correct. Okay. So really quick, wow, that is. Why did they have the worst picture of this phone? Let's just pull this up using any other site. Okay. Yep. Okay, this will work. As soon as it finishes loading. Gee, come on, T-Mobile. Why is your page so awful?
Also,
okay.
I have related to that. I would be curious if they won't, because every company right now is a coward. But T-Mobile could probably get away with suing them for that T logo on the back of the phone. I have to imagine they can probably protect their trademark on a T logo like that on a phone.
You know, that's an interesting question because technically it is different, but only because it has those two little spikes on the top. Otherwise, that really is like the T-Mobile T, almost flawlessly replicated. Obviously it also doesn't have the two blocks that make up the M.
Yeah.
But
I'm curious what kind of font they're using on like the. Okay, no, I looked at a picture of like the Trump Towers and they have a different logo. I was wondering if they were reusing something, but I don't know. Maybe one of the president's many other grifts has a similar graphic design, and I'm not aware of it.
Wow, sorry, I was missing chat for a bit, but Austin, and I imagine you're probably not still here, but good luck. It kind of sucks to lose internet to a thunderstorm.
Been there.
Yeah, we all
Many
have.
times.
Okay, so here's the thing. Since I've been flipping back and forth between these images already, as anyone can clearly see, the T-Mobile Revel is obviously not exactly the same. The camera module is completely different compared to the T1. The camera module on the Revel has 4 cutouts, all fairly close together, and notably, it also does not have a punch hole. It has a teardrop camera on the front of the screen, and we can look at the T1. It is very obviously a different camera module that's got kind of an iPhone arrangement on the cameras, sort of, and it has the punch hole on the front. So now, does this mean that it can't be the same phone with just a swapped out module and screen? It absolutely, that could be the explanation. It could be. But pretty safe bet it's not. And I kind of get why some people came up with this, because there are some other overlaps, but I know somebody in the InfoSec space who's been kind of looking into this phone pretty closely, and he's kicking around a slightly different theory that this phone is considerably cheaper. To the tune of, this might actually be like more like a $200 to $250 phone that is basically like basically a junk Chinese phone that is getting repeddled as if it were something else. So basically his theory is that they're just recycling some like Alibaba special, and they may have convinced the ODM to like upgrade a camera sensor or something to that effect. Whether or not that's the case, I don't know. He doesn't know yet until he gets it, but he is trying to get one. So we'll probably have answers to this very quickly. Or, well,
Yeah.
once they actually launch the phone, which, when did you say that was? You didn't. Sorry. The article from Apple Insider mentions that they plan to launch it at roughly the same time as the next iPhone, because apparently they're trying to take on Apple. I'm serious.
Yes, it's just idiots saying stuff. I did go to the Twitter account because I was curious, and they have a post up there. Like the first post is just an iPhone with the Trump mobile logo on the back. I'm not even sure if that's even in like a case. I think they just photoshopped that onto like, unless they made a perfect sticker. But no, I think that's just an iPhone with the Apple logo removed. And I also like all the people asking Grok for help in the replies. It's very funny.
You know, the only reason why I kind of think it could be real is there looks to be a little bit of like out of focus lens blur going on even the text, because that could just be Twitter's crappy image processing making it look that way, but it sort of looks like it might actually be real.
Yeah,
hard to tell.
and I was trying to say this. Eric Trump, in a later interview, said, "quote Eventually, all the phones can be built in the United States of America."
Yes.
So, they're not. This isn't this. At most, which this will not happen, but like the greatest possibility here is that it's screwed in by people in the U.S. and then it's made here. I that won't happen because it doesn't need to, because they don't need to. They can just sell this shit and people will buy it.
Yeah. Well, it's like all the Trump merch. Years ago during his first term, he got lambasted repeatedly for the fact that all the Trump merch that they sold was made in China, with a rare few exceptions, which were made in like Indonesia, the Philippines, and a few other places that are also sweatshop and slave labor friendly. So, yeah, this is... they're obviously never going to move manufacturing to the US. Like, there's zero chance. Which, if anyone's raising the question, well, what about tariffs? You gotta figure Trump will absolutely write an exception in to allow his phone to come in without tariffs. Like, that's just gonna become a thing.
I don't know if they'd even go that far.
Oh, I'm sure they
would. I don't think they're trying to make this like it doesn't have to be like a competitive phone in any regard, because Trump already has people buying like garbage, like vastly overpriced garbage with his name on it.
Yeah, but they like the idea of being able to brag that it's cheaper and more efficient, and the way that they could hide the fact that it's, not any of those things is by just never paying tariffs on it. That being said, I'm just going to... I realize that there's a way that this plays out, which is going to be hilarious when it does. Trump has obviously threatened and will very surely be charging tariffs on Apple, Samsung, and pretty much any other phone manufacturer out there that has the phones manufactured outside the US. This will also include, obviously, Google, OnePlus, Asus, the list goes on and on. Anyone who manufactures phones, they all do it outside the US. The funny thing about that is they will end up having to pay tariffs on this, which means we will have to pay tariffs when we buy phones. However, there is one really stupid outcome that surely comes of this, which is a few months after Trump launches this phone, and very obviously will never pay tariffs on it, all Samsung, Google, Apple, what have you, all they have to do is sue the US government for charging them tariffs when there's literally no difference. They will win in court, and then they can order the US government to pay back every dime of the tariffs that they paid over what Trump would have paid on this phone. So, yeah, the US... I know, I'm technically writing a story that hasn't happened yet, and there's no reason to think that it's definitely going to happen this way, but it's definitely going to happen this way. So, just a heads up, basically, if you end up buying a phone and you end up paying tariffs on it, expect the company that you paid, or that you bought this phone from, or that phone from, whatever phone it is, they're going to make back whatever you paid in tariffs. That will be money they make back. It will never find its way back to the customers. Just gonna say that now.
I really like this website because it is so funny, where it's just like a normal website for like a phone carrier. Like outs, if you like ignore just the names of stuff, they're talking about this as if it's just like another carrier that's normal. Like they're just talking about like Trump Mobile works with most major phones, so you could bring your current device with you when you make the switch. You want to be sure to use their simple verification guide. Phone is not a match, no problem. Blah blah blah, and then they like list out their um, coverage map, and I, it's just funny because like a lot of the other stuff that he tries to flock is like bombarding you with like uh him or his adult children or other conservatives. And I don't know, maybe the guy on the homepage with the beard is like some weird conservative guy I should know, but like there's not even a picture of him, of Trump on here that I see, which is interesting.
So I actually, I mean, I'm just throwing random stuff out there, but I feel like the random beard guys, it, because there are two of them, they both look like if you took JD Vance but split his traits so that they could actually not look like a weird conglomeration of like a human gone wrong, and you fill in all the gaps with things that actually look better. That's kind of these guys, because they're both like bearded but only kind of. They both are kind of pretty boys but actually look good, as opposed to Vance, who, again, what the fuck happened there. And yeah, they're just models. Both of them are clearly just models. Notably,
Yeah, I think that's just stock photos.
yeah, notably
I
the
mean,
guy
actually,
at the top, I feel like this needs to be pointed out. They screwed up on two things technically with this. One, he is not holding a Trump phone. It is not gold. Two,
yeah, he brought his own phone because you can bring your own phone to the Trump mall.
yes, of course. Two, where they should have cut out the space between his fingers for the yellow background, it is instead gray. Somebody does not even know the basics of how to use Photoshop. So,
And then also thing I like about this website is when you go to the terms of use page, it says all sales are final and non-refundable.
of course they are.
It's a normal thing for a mobile carrier to do. But yeah, I don't know. This has just such a funny vibe to it. Obviously, I don't know. It's just very bizarre, and I think this will be really funny in like 5 years.
It's funny now.
It's funny now. I'm trying not to think about how if I get too mean, then ICE will send me to a foreign country.
Right.
But yeah, it's just like, especially that one again. The one picture we have with like the extremely photoshopped camera array, and all the text in like default Arial font, and there has to be a giant T logo on the back, and also an American flag, and there has to be an American flag on the front. It's just it's very funny. So yeah, I guess we'll see what happens with this. I'm sure it's just gonna be some garbage. I'm looking. The replies are also something on. I opened the latest post, and the first reply is someone asking Grok, "Is this real?" Like just the meme of everyone on that site having completely lost what remains of their brain cells is pretty great.
I mean, at this point, I think a lot of people are just doing that as a meme. The literal asking Grok if stuff is real as a meme is kind of turned into a thing, supposedly.
No, not the ones I'm seeing.
Oh no.
This one, I mean, the first one I saw where someone asked Grok, "Is this real?" is they said, "Grok, is this real? Is who owned this page and Trump Mobile," which is not a correct sentence, and it's someone with a blue check mark. and their bio says conservative free thinker.
Oof.
So,
Wait,
uh,
free thinker asking Grok to think for them.
yeah, I mean, he's not thinking at all. Um, so, yeah, we'll see what happens with this thing. I'm sure it's gonna be like normal white label garbage, but just hawked by the president and his adult children who definitely are not high on cocaine all day long.
Well, what I'm expecting is not only white label garbage, but I'm fully expecting this to be kind of the extra step. Like I said, rumor or not rumor, but at least there is a hunch that this is actually like a low budget phone that's being disguised as a medium tier mid level phone. Whether that's true, again, I don't know yet, but it just feels so on brand if this is like a scam on all fronts.
Yeah. So yeah, obviously don't buy this even as a joke. We already have the one guy at like 404 Media. I think he's buying it as serious, and that's all we need. We just need one person to do it.
Well, all the
Um,
infosec guys are buying these up. So, and I'm sure there will be some YouTubers and memers who jump on this just because. Uh, Beyond that, I I honestly do wonder how many people will even want this. Um, because even among Trump's faithful, I think there are a lot of them that probably look at carrier service and say, you know what, we just like we have what we like. We don't really want to switch because switching carriers sucks. Oh, and I didn't think to check this, but do they? I mean, this is an MVNO, so they should, in theory, support transferring your number. But I don't know that that's.
I think they said it somewhere. I think I saw this. Do 47 plan. Um, do. I saw it somewhere. I don't see it on the website here.
Okay.
Oh yeah, it says move your number on the
Okay.
picture of the open SIM card box.
All right. Fine. It would have been really funny if they didn't even support that somehow.
So really like on the inside of the box it says real American wireless for real Americans.
Ugh. A little bit of me wonders if maybe because even like their open package with the SIM card, even that is very obviously Photoshop. I kind of wonder if this is like all a template some company made, and
Oh, I'm sure.
yeah,
This
like
is this is definitely one of those business to business companies that sells rebrands. You can just buy it, and I'm sure that's also why the website is mostly normal, except where they've inserted the name of the service and the pictures.
yeah, this
'Cause
is
it's just like the template.
this is a so-called turnkey business where yeah, you literally just pay the price on the box, open it up, fill in all the blank fields, and hey, look at that, you have an MVNO. And apparently spray paint gold onto some white label phone.
Yeah, I was looking around at the uh, HTML code to see if there is anything funny in here, and there is client side validation for everything in that form, which is funny. Like there's even JavaScript comments for like checking the expiration date on the credit card number and stuff.
I mean, that's fine. There should be
They-
client
they-
side stuff for that. As long as there's also server side, then yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, so it's just very very silly things going on. This will be a great Tech Tales episode in 5 years. Also, I saw this before I actually saw stuff about the Trump phone. I saw a clip of some absolutely insane interview between one of the adult Trump children. I don't know which white boy it was, and Benny from the Daily Wire, and it was the Trump guy going like absolutely turbo nuclear about trans kids again.
Oof.
And I looked at the back of the clip, and it was the Trump mobile sign. Like this was, I guess, this was supposed to be an interview talking about that, but then of course he had to go on about trans kids. So it's like, oh, okay, that's fun. Things are going great right now here, but yeah, don't buy the Trump phone. Obviously, I don't think I need to say that. Well, because also you can't fully buy it right now anyway, but don't. At least not until the government makes it mandatory.
Yeah, or somehow gives you perks that like you get to stay in the country.
Right. Yeah, Diablo said he was jealous of the Obama phone. Yeah, that's number like 5 million. I know there's no point in doing this anymore, like pointing out the hypocrisy, but like if you can imagine like Obama doing or Biden or literally anyone else.
Yeah.
Again, I going back in every day something like this happens. I'm like, remember when Jimmy Carter had to sell his peanut farm? And now we're just hawking garbage from the Oval Office. That's cool.
Well, hey, at least it's not beans this time.
I would probably prefer peanuts over this phone. Also,
Peanuts are good.
not much of it. I'm not much of a peanut guy, but I would take that over garbage phone. So yeah, that's Trump phone. Oh, speaking of garbage,
Hey. I
boom.
see. I wasn't gonna go quite that hard on that, but
Yeah,
yeah, speaking of things you probably shouldn't be buying.
shouldn't be owning. Yes. So there was another recall announced by the United States Consumer Product Safety Division, which thankfully is still somehow operating to some extent. I remember seeing news articles a couple weeks ago about how like this got massively scaled down. It might just be like 3 people now. I'm not sure, but they're still posting stuff. There is a new recall of the Anchor Power Core. I think that's 10,000 power banks, as in like
Yes.
10,000 milliamps. They didn't put a comma in there. But yeah, so these Anchor batteries are overheating, posing fire and burn hazards to people. Down on the incidents and injuries section here, they have Anchor has received 19 reports of fires and explosions. This includes 2 reports of minor burn injuries not requiring medical attention and 11 reports of property damage totaling over $60,000. And this was sold at Anchor's website, Amazon, Newegg, and eBay from June 2016 through December 2022 for about $27. And because it was sold for so long, there's a lot of units. This is over 1 million batteries. 1,150,000 roughly. And I don't know, it doesn't look like this has information from Canada and Mexico. I know this agency will coordinate with other, Canada and Mexico on recalls. And sometimes there's more information about what those countries have received in reports, but I don't see that with this one. So, yeah, if you have this battery or you've seen it, you need to. They recommend going to a waste collection center that might have like a lithium-ion battery disposal. I'm sure a lot of people are not going to do that, but just try your best to dispose of this in a way that doesn't cause more things to explode. That's always ideal. And
Yes.
I also want to clarify here that like recalls are kind of just unavoidable. Like I don't think this is a like, oh, never buy an Anchor thing again. They're blowing up. Like every company does this. Again, we went through this a couple of years ago with Samsung. Samsung's flagship phone was catching on fire even after they recalled it and put out a new one. But I do think it's interesting that there have been more reports from Anchor lately. So I linked two more. One of them was recall date October 17th of 2024. This was for a different Anchor battery. It was like one of their smaller ones with or actually it was for several. One of them was a like charging brick thing, and then another one was one of their like MagSafe batteries with the little kickstand on it. And those were overheating and causing fire risk. And that one was only 2,000 batteries, they said. And then there was another one for Anchor Sound Core Bluetooth speakers, where the batteries in them were overheating and starting the fires. And that affected 69,000 units in the United States, as well as another 9,000 in Canada. So there have been more Anchor recalls, and I don't know if that's necessarily a sign of a decline in quality, or they're just like rapidly scaling up how many products they sell, and each time you release a product, you're rolling the dice on something going wrong. So this is just kind of a, gradual incline rather than exponential, but little bit worrying, I have to say, as someone who's generally a fan of Anchor stuff. And I'm actually reviewing an Anchor thing right now, which thankfully does not have a battery in it. It's a Thunderbolt 5 dock.
You say thankfully, but that doesn't mean it can't blow up, sir.
It can still catch on fire. Yeah, there's a lot of power going through that.
So, yeah, I'm gonna go basically and say, yeah, I mean, this stuff happens. I'm not about to jump up and defend Anchor or anything like that, but at the same time, their quality historically has been pretty good. So this is technically a few things in a close proximity, which could signify that maybe they had maybe a product team that overlooked some things. Maybe they had a source, like whatever company they were sourcing batteries from may actually be the cause of this. There are a few other possibilities. Some of them speak to maybe Anchor being the problem. Some of them speak to suppliers being the problem. We obviously just don't know. But yeah, if you have really any of these products, or I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, if you have any other Anchor products from the same time period, just be cautious with them. Maybe if you're going to not have them with you, maybe make a point of setting them on non-flammable surfaces. Maybe put them in spaces that aren't immediately next to your most expensive or valued things. Just be a little more conscious about where you place them for the next year. And if a recall shows up, then be wary of it. Look for that. If there's no recall, and you're probably okay.
Really, with all electronics you are storing, you need to open that drawer full of garbage that I know you all have, because I have several, and just check for spicy pillows.
Yeah.
Check if you got any batteries that are looking a little bulgy, that maybe you need to remove from your home before it starts a fire.
That said, in all fairness, if it's something that is by now fully discharged, the odds of the battery being dangerous are fairly low. Technically, the batteries can still fail. They could still technically go spicy pillow mode, but it's really unlikely. So, I'm not saying that you shouldn't still be mindful of that, but yeah, the odds of danger do decrease quite a bit once something is just fully dead battery. But also,
Yes, and
if you have things that are laying around that go fully dead battery for that long, maybe you don't need them laying around anymore.
yep.
Do that spring cleaning now in summer. Okay,
Yes.
so all right. Kind of micro switching topics. I'm really not going to spend any significant time on this at all. In fact, actually, I think basically none. But we discussed last week a rumor that was put out by Android Headlines claiming that the Pixel 10 will have Qi 2. Turns out, yeah, not exactly. Apparently, Android Headlines quietly has changed that to instead say it will be Qi 2 ready, which is basically saying,
That's what Samsung did on their Galaxy S25 phones, which means nothing.
well, what it means is it has wireless charging and supports wireless charging at Qi 2 rates, and it means nothing else. In other words, the MagSafe
No,
part,
no
which
magnets.
everybody was expecting with a claim like Qi 2, because that is what it means. Yeah, that part is not there, at least under their now presumed claims. So look, if you know us, we tend to nitpick phrasing. We tend to look for sort of lazy reporting, bad reporting, dubious claims. And this is one of them that right now like, the source of the rumor is basically not passing the smell test. I'm not trying to specifically call out a site. But it's, yeah, that this is what happens. And this is why we kind of hedged on the phrasing of it even back when we talked about it the first time. This is why, because rumors that don't come from reliable sources tend to have a way of changing as they need to, so that they still can claim or pretend that they're right. Anyway, so yeah, that's just me being a being a dick, honestly. But it is what it is. So, yeah, like I said, not really much of a topic. Corbin, do you have anything you want to add to this one?
I'm just upset that no one else will put the daggone magnets in the phones.
Oh yeah, no, I'm with you, 100%.
Put the mag. I don't. What is the secret technology that the Chinese case manufacturers figured out 15 seconds after the iPhone added MagSafe that you cannot do?
Oh,
I know.
that's simple. Patents.
I know that the Koreans can build great phones and great cars. I have the utmost confidence that they could put magnets in the phones if they wanted to. And the same with I guess the Taiwanese people designing the Pixels, if that's still happening. I don't know what the status is on the former HTC bits of Google, but
that is a fair question.
Just put the magnets in. Just do it.
Yeah, believe me, I would love to see those magnets. We discussed this at length last week, and I still stand by it. I would love to have the magnets actually in the phone. Not because I'm trying to get away from putting a case on the phone. I like having cases on phones. But I really want the magnets in the phone, because if you have any reason why you need to use a phone without a case, which at least for me comes up with every single phone I've ever used, I want it to still be able to use MagSafe accessories. Like, that's just the deal. I want to use them, and I want to be able to do so without having to have a case on it. So yeah, do that. By the way, Trump phone does not support MagSafe. Actually, it doesn't support. I don't think it supports wireless charging.
Nice. Yeah,
because I don't remember seeing that in their spec list.
because you know what else starts with W? Woke.
Woke. Wireless is woke.
Yeah.
Um. Anyway.
Speaking of woke,
Yep, we were
uh,
good transition.
speaking of woke, Tesla has paused production of the Cybertruck and Model Y. And apparently this was yesterday, but I didn't see anyone else talking about it. Possibly because the world is burning and there's more important things going on. But I think this is pretty funny. And I'm sorry because it's a leaked report. So CNBC said Tesla shares fell nearly 4% on Tuesday after a report that the electric vehicle maker was halting production of Cybertruck and Model Y models for a week in Austin, Texas. The production stoppage begins June 30th, Business Insider reported, citing a staff meeting where the announcement was made. The pause, which is for maintenance on production lines, will be the third such shutdown in the Austin facility in the past year. So maybe maintenance is real, but we do know that Tesla cannot offload the Cybertrucks anywhere near as fast as they had hoped. And it's just funny. And we've seen from plenty of sales reports that most people are buying other electric cars now, because Tesla prices are. I know, like I think on the last revision to, I don't know if it is the Model Y or a different one, but on one of the normal EVs, they raised prices again across the models. And I mean, even before Elon went completely insane, like I don't think there was a reason to buy a Tesla car, really, because I mean, Tesla carved out a niche and like was briefly cool for a little while because
About
no
10
one else was
years.
building. Yeah, no one else was building electric cars, but now you have like the actual automotive companies building electric cars that have the support infrastructure and the service centers that Tesla still does not. And they are somewhat insulated from the worst mistakes Tesla made in terms of design and especially car makers definitely copied a lot of Tesla's we need everything on the touchscreen, but they have stepped back from that, it seems like, which is good. So I I haven't really seen a good reason to buy Tesla cars in a long time unless you get like a crazy deal on it or something. And now that he's insane and people are just like vandalizing these cars because it's funny, there's not really a. I don't know why you would. Even if he was not insane, you shouldn't buy these because it's funding Elon. But you know, just kind of funny. And I do see Cybertrucks a lot, unfortunately, around me because there is a Tesla dealership nearby, and they're always in the lot. And people, I'm assuming most of the Cybertrucks I see are people taking them on test drives from the dealership. But I'm sure there's a couple that people bought as well. And I try to flip them off when I can, doing my patriotic duty.
I've seen one in my local area, and otherwise, no reason to think or believe that they're any more than that. Yeah, I. That said, honestly, at this stage, unless you're doing it as some sort of a political statement, I don't see a reason why anyone would buy Teslas. It's I get that there's a desire to drive electric vehicles. Cheers to that. But and I get that there's some amount of at least formally existent like cachet due to owning a Tesla, and some people don't realize that doesn't exist anymore. But yeah, I'm sorry, but they're not cool like they used to be.
Yeah, and I like my cars to be built well.
Yeah.
And that's not something Tesla has been able to do for a long time.
Yeah, generally speaking, not a big fan of cars that fall apart, explode, or need to be rebooted while you're driving.
Yes. Yeah. Every day I see what Tesla drivers or some of the other wacky EVs go through, and I'm like, man, I didn't realize how good I have it with my gas engine Hyundai Kona. Where I'm like, great, I've never once been at risk of locking myself in my car because the doors won't open because, yeah, the car bricked itself during a software update.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm sure I'm still getting like, location tracked by whatever like OnStar system is lurking deep within the console somewhere. But yeah, never had to deal with that part. So that's nice. Never had any panels falling off. Yeah.
That's so
So
cringy.
yeah, that's it for now on the Tesla shenanigans.
Yeah, so cheers to that being a disaster in the making. Um so let's see. Well, we are the carefully constructed series of topics that flowed from one to the next was kind of broken. So,
Right.
but I don't care. We're just going to go into we're going to stay on phone news. Yes, maybe just pretend we didn't just talk about cars instead. Um and yes, we're finally, I believe it or not, we're finally to the part of the show where we talk about good things. That there are going to be times where we get to do that. It's cool. Okay, so obviously anyone who watches pays attention knows we've talked about Mark Lavoie a few times before. He was generally considered kind of the I'm reluctant to use the word genius, but he was a really smart guy who was responsible for the computational photography features of the Pixel phones. Basically, he's been promoting various ideas for like over a decade about how to improve photography, how to advance photography using different techniques, mostly multiple exposures, and he developed he led the team and developed the current iteration of the Pixel camera. Obviously, it has been developed past because he did leave Google 2 years ago. I think it was 2, maybe 3. Anyway, he since moved to Adobe, and while he was at Adobe, he obviously worked with them on a couple of projects, but more recently, he and I do not remember the name of the other person off the top of my head, but Florian Kainz. Florian also was part of the Google camera and Pixel camera team. So these two worked together. I'm assuming Mark violated his no solicitation clause in his departure contract, and he talked Florian into joining him at Adobe. And the two of them worked together to create Indigo. This is a new camera app, which is, to put it bluntly, if Mark had stayed at Google, this is what he would have built. But now it's going to be owned by Adobe, and it's basically just a more advanced version of the Pixel camera app. And by more advanced, the polite way to put it is, yeah, it just sort of takes more exposures. It's probably the algorithm's a little better, and that's about it. I'm sure there's genuinely actually much more to it, but for the most part, it kind of sounds like they basically just went for the photographer's version of what a camera app should be. By all accounts, it seems like this camera app is only for stills. At least the article that Android Authority wrote about it doesn't discuss video at all, I believe. Or no, sorry, it does discuss video, but it basically just kind of said it was about the same. So yeah, video is obviously not a big part of their focus right now, and I'm not too surprised by that. Mark really was more focused on photos than video. And I'm not going to judge too much on the quality of it because you never know how much this is sort of picking and choosing. That said, obviously, like the comparisons that are shown between like an iPhone or a photo taken with the iPhone with its regular camera app and a photo taken with Indigo, the differences are pretty obvious and very significant. Indigo looks monumentally better. The bad news, it's only for iPhone for now. There will be an Android app. They say that it's planned and they are working on it. How long that's going to take, who knows? There's no deadlines, which is pretty much how all software development is. You're never really going to get a proper date estimate on something like this. I am looking forward to it. I don't know when to expect it, but I'd like to think that this is the sort of thing that'll make it just because Adobe tends to do this. Adobe launches a lot of software for iPhone, and somewhere to the tune of about 5 to 6 months later, they usually release the Android version. So, I mean, this won't necessarily follow that same pattern, but I wouldn't be surprised if it does. And I'm kind of in for it.
This one makes definitely the most sense of something you would release on iPhone first and Android second, because I don't know how many horror stories I've heard over the years of Android's camera APIs just being an absolute mess. I'm sure even if they were working, or even if they are working now, it's just a lot more cameras to test against than the, handfuls being used on iPhone right now. So the delay makes a little bit of sense.
I sort of disagree a little.
I mean, they could have still done it. I think small indie company Adobe could have got it done if they really wanted to. But I get it in this case a little bit more than like Photoshop or something. Insert recent app release here.
Right. So I don't exactly disagree. I get the premise that you're going for. But I do think that when you're talking about iOS at this point, the range of devices that they have across, yes, all the iPads, we're going to count those, and all the different iPhone variants that they release, they actually do have a fairly wide-ranging set of cameras in each of these pieces of hardware. So it's still a smaller list than what you have on Android, and they are a little bit more uniform, but I wouldn't say that they're as, like, it's not that much easier anymore. And the Android ecosystem is, you'd be surprised how much easier it is right now than it used to be. The APIs that Google has put out, yes, are problematic. They are inconsistent and a little unreliable, but they are a lot better than they used to be. That said, I know an app developer that is building something that is, I don't want to say more advanced than this, but at the same time it kind of is. And it supports way more phones. It is an Android app. It is full range of phones, and it's doing some more advanced stuff. It's literally pulling the raw data feed right out of the camera for every camera, or for every Android camera. So if they're doing that, it's not the craziest thing to think that it could be done here too. And it's a smaller dev team by a lot, or at least I assume. I guess I don't know how big the dev team is at Adobe, but if Mark can't hustle up a couple of extra interns, I'd be a little surprised. So, and none of this is a criticism on Mark, Florian, even Adobe. Like, it's fine. Honestly, like, I'm looking forward to there being an app, because in all likelihood this will probably become my app of choice for taking stills. It won't be my app of choice for video, not by a long shot, but for stills, yeah, probably gonna switch to this when it comes out. But hey, if it's gonna take a few more months before it does, that's fine. I'm not like dying to change. I'm not dying for the swap. So, cheers. I'm okay waiting on it.
And I don't know. I don't know what the utility for having video support would be here if the sort of main focus is the multiple exposures, because it's not really applicable to video. Maybe just to have it in the same interface, I could see it, because it's what people expect out of a camera app.
Oh, okay. So turns out video's only mentioned in a single paragraph. I'll just read it, because it pretty much indicates exactly what to expect. Quote, the company also confirmed that an Android version of the app is in the pipeline, but it didn't reveal any more details. Other features on the way include alternative looks, a high quality portrait mode, a video mode, in parentheses it says, with, quote, cool computational video features, and a panorama option. So, okay, I guess this actually doesn't do video yet. I would have sworn I saw somewhere that it did, but as I'm now looking at screenshots, I don't see any buttons for video. So yeah, this does not do video. I apologize. I mistook.
Fake news, Cody.
Yep.
Oh yeah, they do say they add a little bit more detail in that source link, where they say, we also plan to add a portrait mode, but with more control and higher image quality than existing camera apps, as well as panorama and video recording, including some cool computational video features we're cooking up in the lab. I don't know what computational video means, but...
Okay, so I can kind of suggest a few possibilities for that. One of them is, well, there are a few possibilities here. So one of the common tricks with video is, well, oh man, there's so much stuff. This actually could become a whole rabbit hole, but I'll do my best to keep this not very, very deep. So one of the things that people have talked about with doing video for quite a while is, what if you were to do video where in between frames, like you basically shot one frame at one exposure level and a second frame at a different exposure level. And if you hear this and go, well, yeah, that's HDR video, you're right, it is HDR video. That's actually exactly how most HDR video is done. They don't usually shoot some magical way of getting wider exposure out of it. They just shoot two frames and then digitally merge them together to create a single HDR frame. There's another technique, and this is pretty unrealistic on most of the phones that are out there, but it could exist on some of them. There's a technique where if you have a high enough megapixel sensor, so let's say those nice 50 megapixel or over 100 megapixel sensors out there, one of the tricks that has been proposed is basically where you activate individual sensors so that they only capture for, let's say, 1,000th of a second, and then other pixels actually stay active for longer, and they capture, let's say, 1/100th of a second. So this way you end up with an image where two pixels right next to each other are capturing different exposures. So they're basically capturing full HDR, but in all at once. They don't have to take two separate frames, one following the other. Okay. And so these kinds of tricks are possible. And obviously that does depend on the sensor supporting something like that, which most of them do not right now, but some do. And it would depend on obviously being able to manage that kind of data, which you need to also have higher throughput to support this kind of stuff. There are extra requirements, and whether or not they can do that from the app is also in question, but just noting that these are possibilities. There are a lot of others too. Anything from one frame to the next. In the final video, you can usually do a lot of noise reduction just by identifying, hey, here's two blocks that basically should look identical, except maybe they moved, just a little bit to the left. We can interpolate. There's what looks like noise here, which wasn't in the previous frame or the next frame. Let's just assume that's noise and we'll fix it. Like, you can do those kinds of things in video, and a lot of camera stuff already does that thing that I just described, but there are ways to advance it. So, I wouldn't put it past them to be working on that stuff. But just having watched how Pixel advanced photos so much further than it did with video, but especially before Mark left, I get the impression he's really a photos guy and way less of a video guy. And so I have a feeling that video is not going to be the main focus for this app. Maybe I'm wrong, and we'll see. Even if I am wrong, I have a feeling I would personally go with other apps for other reasons, which probably not a discussion for this time. But like I said, I do definitely still want to use this for stills, because I'm okay with the idea of just holding my phone out a little bit longer to capture a good image.
Yeah, I mean, all those pictures I took and I linked on Flickr, that was me flipping on the max resolution HEIF image. Toggling the Apple camera's like, give me all of the pixels, please. I'm going to need these later for cropping in Lightroom.
Yep.
And and the blog post also, it does talk about how they're doing like on zoom photos, they're reducing the sort of shaky blur in handheld shots by capturing the image on more lenses at once and merging them together. And the native support for what is the format, DNG files, so you can drop them into Lightroom and Lightroom will understand what's going on. So yeah, I mean, it looks pretty good. I might try this at some point.
Yes, the iPhone user.
Yes, I can use it. Adobe likes me. That's why they charge me $15 a month for Photoshop. I think it's 15. I don't know. Went up in price. Again, past Corbin should have stocked up even further on the 1 year Creative Cloud subscription. 3 years was a lot, but not enough.
Honestly, I now look back and kind of wish that I bought like a decade or something.
Or past Corbin should have put more time into trying alternatives.
Yes,
but good ones. I spent a lot of time trying to use GIMP, and it was awful. And I don't want to use it, not just because the name's stupid. It's just bad software.
Yeah, no, I agree. And hey, I've had my ups and downs with Affinity Photo. It's good in its ways, it's bad in its ways. Um, but it is what I've
Yeah,
gotten used to, and it's what I'm using right now.
I might need to. I don't know. I might need to try it again. The last time I tried it, it only has the limited time trial, and I didn't have time. I should have done that when I had a lot of free time, but that was, I think, like right before I had to go travel for something. So
Um, well, for one, I think they actually have reset that. I could be wrong, but I think they reset those trials. Um, Even if they haven't, you
well,
can always just set up a new account and do another trial.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, worth a shot. And I will say they have improved it significantly since a lot of my complaints. I wouldn't say that they've fixed my complaints. They've just improved it a lot. So, um, some of it is stuff you just learn to work around. Other things are, just not really going to get better. Um,
Again, they have me hooked in with Lightroom. Unfortunately, it's a really nice app. I know I can figure out Darktable or whatever. But
well, if you do try Affinity, I will say the raw processing is definitely inferior. However, the ability to go back and forth between raw and or the raw processor and the actual editor, it is light years ahead of what Adobe is doing with Lightroom and Photoshop, even using Bridge or using the raw camera plugin in Photoshop. Like this is way more advanced. So if they would just work on their raw processing tools, it would be heaven.
yeah, I mean, I don't have a special need to edit in RAW, but I do it every time because it's like, well, I set up my camera to take the pictures in RAW, and my app supports it, so I might as well, you know, get as much editing as I can. But I mean, all the pictures like I take on my iPhone are the HEIF format, and they're fine to work with. So
Yeah. um yeah, I will say technically you are making more work for yourself by editing in raw, but yeah, even on honestly, like even photos I take of things that I'm just going to post on like an Amazon review, I edit those in raw just because it takes me like 15 seconds tops to open it up, move a couple sliders to specific spots just to like bring back some shadow, tone down a little bit of highlights, and nudge some contrast a little bit so that I bring out some shape. That's seriously 15-20 seconds. If it's only going to be like one or two shots, it's worth it. Like it's better than what the cameras are going to do when they guess.
yeah, that's most of my Lightroom editing is I'm importing raw images or JPEG or whatever from my phone, and I'm clicking the auto button, and I'm tweaking it a little bit because sometimes it's not bright enough.
Right.
Or Lightroom gets really confused occasionally, and then that's it. I'm done.
And I think Affinity Photo does have an auto button now. You know what? I haven't looked at that in a while. I think it does. I just never use it.
Yeah, well, I haven't got around to learning that yet, and ultimately, giving Adobe $15 a month is easier. So they've got me. Maybe eventually.
I'm totally just opening a raw image right now just to find out.
I will say now that I'm consolidating back down to one primary computer for work, the Lightroom's very nice cloud sync would not be as important now. It's still nice. I do occasionally like to drop a bunch of images on Lightroom and then just take my iPad over to the couch or bed or something and edit it over there instead of necessarily being hunched over my desk all the time. But
yeah, that makes sense.
now my laptop has a far better screen than the iPad, though. So
That definitely changes the motivation on where you edit. Okay, I'm not seeing an auto, but I still swear I remember there being one. Maybe I disabled it or hid it or something. I don't know.
In some little menu somewhere.
Could be. And there are a few things in Affinity where they kind of obnoxiously hid stuff. Okay, so anyway, I think that's about it on the camera app. One final note. It is free. As far as I'm aware, there is no discussion of a price on it. There's no limitations on who can use it outside of, supported devices. So, yeah, if you have an iPhone, just download it and try it out. It literally costs you nothing. And when it comes out for Android, I assume same story. Okay.
For now.
Yes.
Once it's good and people want it, it will be an extra tier on these app subscription lists.
Oh, it better not be. They've really worn out their welcome on that. That said, ironically, coming out with a camera app that is probably better than the OEM camera app on any phone is something you'd expect Adobe to want to make at least $1 or $2 on. So I look forward to seeing how they're going to do that. I'm sure it will involve extensive advertising for the Creative Cloud plan. Plus, the only way to move your photos out of it will probably involve something like nagging people to use Creative Cloud. Anyway, so final topic, I believe, unless anything's been added. Don't think so.
Nope.
Okay. Rejoice. Steam is finally adding support for Apple Silicon Macs. In case anyone has not used a Mac, or particularly not used Steam on a Mac, it is one of the, if not the only, really high-profile holdout that did not launch a Apple Silicon version or M1 support long ago. The M1 chips came out back in, was it 2000? I think.
2020.
Or sorry, yeah. Why did I say 2000?
Been a while.
Yeah, the clock reset when 2020 happened.
I remember running Mac OS 9 on my M1. Those were the good old days.
So yeah, anyway, the M1s have been out for enough years now that pretty much every actively supported piece of software that runs on Macs has probably been has been recompiled or rebuilt so that it can run on Apple Silicon, assuming that it can. If it's something that can't, fine. But the vast majority of things that are, again, still actively supported probably have gone through the effort, which in many cases is literally just changing a compiler flag. And they now have Apple Silicon versions, and it's a non-issue. Steam, for reasons I'm going to assume have to just be probably Gabe Newell being sort of petty, has held back from doing this and instead chose to keep it on Intel only until now. And starting with the most recent beta, there is now an Apple Silicon version. I've heard it's still a little buggy, has some issues, but for the most part, works apparently pretty well.
Yeah, this is now the second technological migration that Apple has forced upon Valve when they very clearly didn't want to do it, because the first one was 64-bit. I believe Steam on Windows is still 32-bit. Or at least it was when Steam had to be ported to 64-bit for Mac for it to continue working. There's still no Steam for ARM Windows, but now there is Steam for native Apple Silicon, and this doesn't change anything with game compatibility. Um, we still don't really know what's going to happen when the Rosetta 2 supposedly gets phased out. What will be kept in there for old games to continue working? Don't really know yet. Um, but the Steam client itself will still be there and hopefully running better because Steam the x86 emulation in Windows 11 and macOS are very good for what they are, but they absolutely struggle with browser engines. Like that is why like Windows on ARM was completely unusable until like last year when Chrome finally released native ARM version and other browsers followed suit because uh, web browsers just they don't work well in there because it's because they're compiling JavaScript code and stuff while you're using it, so you're going through multiple layers of compiling code, and it makes the whole thing very slow and not fun, and that's what Steam on Mac has been. It's not even really that doesn't run that well on Windows either, but on Mac
Yeah.
it was not great. Steam really is shitty software, and it's always amazing to me how much gamers will defend it. It's like, no, this is like just as bad of a games client as like the Epic Game Store or whatever. It's all garbage. It's a little bit better, but
Yeah,
it's still
it
not
is
good.
better. I'm going to
Definitely
just
better than the like Game Pass Xbox software thing where like Microsoft couldn't figure out how to let you install games to other drives until like 2 years ago.
yeah. So I'm gonna I will defend Steam being better than Epic, just not on the basis of how well the software is written, but just how complete it is. Because the Epic Game Store, there's whole chunks of that app that you can tell literally are just not finished, and they aren't bothering to finish them. So, yeah, I'll give them that. I I think they're at least better than an unfinished, a completely unfinished app. Um, that being said, yeah, Steam has a long way to go in terms of quality. I don't think they're ever gonna get there because I don't think they care.
They
Um,
don't need to.
yeah,
They won. They
yeah,
won.
yeah. That's basically it. Um, and hey, if we could all just be so lucky. Um, but at all that being said, what I think is interesting about this is the timing, because Apple finally announced that they, as Corbin mentioned, they're about to kill the Rosetta 2 support on Macs, and
Well,
we did discuss this.
about being in 2 years.
Yeah, well, yeah. No, wait, is it 2? I thought it was 1.
You're gonna make me have to think about the stupid version numbers again. The one coming out this fall is macOS 26.
Right.
It will also be in macOS 27. After that is when they'll
Oh.
start.
Oh, okay. I thought it was killing it with 27. All right.
No, they said the verge saying through because I
Okay.
think that's the language Apple's been using.
Okay. Well, fine. Um, so I have cooked up my own conspiratorial theory on this that I think the reason Valve. So look, let's be honest. Valve obviously had a an Apple Silicon version ready to go. Like, the announcement came, and it was 2 days later, 3 days later, whatever. It was just after we recorded last week, that this news hit, and I, I'm sorry, but yes, they could have possibly cooked up and shipped a new or a beta version of this like right away, but I think it's more likely that they didn't do that, and instead, what I think happened is Steam was looking at what happened with the 32 to 64-bit forced conversion and basically said, look, a ton of games just basically got forced out of supporting out of support on the Mac. What happens when Rosetta goes away? I bet they recognized that that was going to lead to a bunch of additional games not being supported. So my hunch is that Steam being Steam and knowing that Apple doesn't want to kill really big mainstream apps, I bet what they did is they sat there and basically said, look, if we ship a Intel version of our app, of the store, the installer, whatever, if we ship that, Apple's going to feel like, okay, no one's running Rosetta 2 anymore. It's time. Like, we can pull the plug on this. And so I think Steam or Valve was trying to delay that as much as possible by not shipping a Apple Silicon version. Are you following what I'm saying? Does this make sense?
I think so.
Yeah, because as long as people are installing Steam and running it, it's running Rosetta. And I think we all know Apple's definitely keeping some telemetry on how often Steam is being run. Or sorry, not how often Steam is being run, but how often Rosetta is being run. And this basically gives them a way to sort of, by proxy of the user base, it sort of forces Apple to see, oh, we still have 15% of Macs are running Rosetta, and they still have software that's not allowing them to quit it. So, I think that's the trick. Somebody, I think, just did that math and realized we can keep Apple from killing Rosetta 2 faster if we just do this. Obviously, that's technically wrong, because I think this was pretty much the timeline Apple always planned on, but we don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice they finally did this, or they're going to. It's still in the betas. But I would also really like it if Valve made any of their games available on modern Mac. They did release all of them back in the back when Steam for Mac was new in their 32-bit era, and then all of those went away after Apple killed 32-bit support. And then when they redid Counter-Strike, which they had to do as a 64-bit game, like in their new engine. The other ones might be slightly more difficult because I think those engines were 32-bit. But Counter-Strike 2 just didn't come to the Mac at all because they were like, well, no one's playing on a Mac. It's like, well, yeah, because it's only old Macs that can play it now.
Yeah.
So I'd like them to care again. I would spend more money on Steam if I knew it was not going to be like something standing in the way of me playing games. One of the reasons I've kind of just been buying a lot of stuff from GOG and downloading it and running it in crossover or parallels or whatever, where there's not a launcher in the way. So yeah, good job. Small indie company stuff. In terms of employee size, not in terms of any.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm going to count this as good news because I'm at least happy to see this is happening. Because I personally just like the idea of getting as much stuff off of Rosetta as possible. That said, I actually agree with their strategy, at least the one that I am theorizing that they were doing. So I'd like to think that that's it would have worked, but it won't. So the thing is, I think we're going to lose a lot of games once Rosetta is disabled, and as a result, yeah, it is what it is. we're unfortunately just going to have to live with a lot of stuff sort of disappearing from the support stack. Not much else to say on that.
Yep.
Let's see. So I don't know. Do you have any other thoughts?
Nope.
Cool. Okay. So with that, let's see. Okay. Had to click that. All right. I guess that wraps up this week's stream. As usual, is there anything you'd like to pitch, polish, talk about, or mention before going?
Nope. Don't talk to me. Don't look at me. Don't look at anything I make.
Don't do drugs, kids.
That's good.
Okay. Anyway, so yeah. Well, I will say come this weekend and watch me do some gaming. I'll be playing some Overwatch, maybe some Rainbow Six Siege is a possibility, I guess. Marvel Rivals, it could happen. You know, these happen. They do. And let's see. And yeah, come back next week for another RambleCast where we're going to talk about OpenAI. God, let's hope I'm kidding. Let's pray I'm kidding, because I can't think of anything more boring. Anyway, so yeah, if anyone would like to support the channel, there are links down below to Cash App, Streamlabs, and Patreon. And of course, huge thanks to Alyssa, David, Diablo, Carson, and Austin. Man, I started to stumble there for a second. For being great supporters of the channel. Y'all are awesome. And of course, in general, thanks to anyone who came by and hung out with us in the chat room, which was pretty much just Diablo and Alyssa, and briefly Austin. Thank you all for coming by and hanging out and being chatters. And with that, I hope you all have an excellent rest of your week, and I will catch you in the next one. Good night, everybody.
Bye.